Five Nights at Freddy's is a series that just never really seems to slow down. It may take a few little breaks here and there, but there never seems to really be a drought in FNAF content. And I mean this in every type of aspect. In terms of official FNAF releases, the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie is coming out at the end of the year, and Secret of the Mimic is just around the corner. In terms of fan games, we just got two really good reimaginings of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2, and even though the reimagining of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is a little bit of an April Fool's joke, it's still really well made. Not to mention a bunch of other fan games that are relevant right now that are not only really well made, but really terrifying, which I applaud a ton. And not to mention a bunch of very talented content creators on top of anything and everything Five Nights at Freddy's that are honestly super patient with this series to be sticking with it a decade later, that look at everything that is keeping the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise fresh. I'm actually a really big fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm more than happy to check out any of the content that fans make for this franchise. However, like I said before, a lot of the fan games coming out right now are extremely terrifying, and I'm just not built like that. I'm the type to download these kinds of games, play 1 or 2 nights in a very well lit room in the middle of the day, and call it there. However, by doing this, I miss out on one of the biggest, most entertaining aspects of these games, and that is the custom nights, or even more specifically, 420 mode. As many of you know, this is an infamously difficult mode in all of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, and is infamous for not even being completed by the creator himself, which made it all the more satisfying to see some of your favorite content creators beat this mode after hours of hard work and trial and error.
Oh my god! Oh, I did it!
Only to then release a game completely centered around this mode called Ultimate Custom Night, which is just a hodgepodge of bullshit.
So I got 26 seconds. That's kind of lit.
Only for those most dedicated to rise to the challenge and end up on top somehow, to then create fan-made aspects of the game which are even more difficult than intended and still beat that.
Oh my god. Oh. Holy fuck. Yes!
And I just gotta say, no, we're not doing that. However, there is one FNAF fan game that I have been playing on this channel just in its demo form that I really enjoy, called Five Nights at Frickbear's 3. It is a very fun and super charming fan game with a great art style, very fun salvage mechanic to it, and it doesn't scare the living daylights out of me. And even with the recent completion of this demo on the channel and collecting everything that the demo has to offer until we get the full release, there is one aspect that I have not touched yet. And you have guessed it, of course, it is the custom nights, this time sporting 20 characters for the demo. And in case you haven't guessed by the context clues, I haven't completed an all 20 mode for any FNAF game.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
But with how much I enjoy this game and how much I am looking forward to the full release of the game, I have decided to make that change and make this the first game that I finally complete in all 20 custom nights, even though all the characters aren't out yet. But shh, we're not talking about that, shh. And so with all available animatronics unlocked for this demo, I decided to get to work. However, I wasn't just gonna cold turkey all 20 mode. I'm not completely insane. So this is the step-by-step process and journey of how I may or may not have completed my first ever all 20 custom nights. For any of you who haven't seen or played Five Nights at Frickbear's 3, first of all, please go do that. Second of all, you unlock new animatronics by completing the demo, which consists of 2 nights and 1 salvage mechanic night. The 2 nights are self-explanatory and act just as any other FNAF game. However, the salvage mechanic night is one of the aspects of the game that makes the game shine. This is where you interact with animatronics and ask them to join you at your pizzeria, where they will then act as a hurdle for getting to 6 AM at the end of the night. This is also where you find cool little secrets too, depending on who you interact with and who you end up running into later on in the story. But we don't need to dive into that too much, just know this is how we unlocked all the animatronics, and the game confirmed with us that we got all of them by the end of our final night. So now that we have all the necessary pieces in play, we can start practicing for max custom night. The first thing you'll see me do is select a handful of animatronics to take on in the night, and this is because even though these animatronics are unlockable in the story, you don't actually face them in the story. And so the demo doesn't give you any practice against these animatronics outside of a custom night. And so of course I played off against them to gain the experience and knowledge necessary to take them on in all 20 mode. And of course, you know what they say.
Knowing is half the battle.
And I won't break down every single animatronic on this list, but to summarize these animatronics that we haven't faced before, Toy Bonnie and JJ can be handled in the vents, and even if they come through, you can throw up your mask to make them leave. Toy Freddy just needs you to beat his high score in any of the mini games you play before the end of the night. And considering that the mini games reward you with coins that you can use to help speed up the night or even get rid of an animatronic for the rest of the night, we'll be doing that anyways. Mingle will pop up in random cameras and you just have to make sure you don't look at them too long. Shadow Freddy will only show up once in the middle of the night to completely black out all of your lights temporarily, so it really doesn't matter how high his difficulty is, it will just happen one time no matter what. Shadow Bonnie, or however you want to pronounce it, will slowly appear in your office and just needs a light shined on them for them to disappear. And finally, Toy Chica will have a cupcake spawn in your office that you need to click on before she jump scares you. And now that we know what all the animatronics have in store for us, we are ready to take them on. Camera 5. Okay, so it's very obvious. Fair enough. Oh my god!
Chocolate! Chocolate!
Why does he do that?
What's up, fuck?
I did not even see the fucking cupcake. So, okay. Toy Chica is gonna be a problem. Let's check the games. Golden Fred Suite. Oh my. Oh, there's no point in playing this game at all.
Hi, how are you?
Oh my god, I just saw the cupcake! You're on 10! Oh my god! Oh, I can't see a thing!
Oh shit!
I don't see the cupcake though. That's good. How the vents looking. They are really susceptible to that audio lure. Damn, that lasts for a minute. Can I say that? Okay. That was really a nothing night, but okay. We decided to take this nice and slow, starting off with all animatronics at a simple 1 difficulty. What I found out by watching multiple people take on max custom nights for different FNAF games is that the hardest part about them is not even necessarily that each animatronic is coming at you at their highest difficulty, but that each animatronic is coming at you at once. And many times the way that you stave off these animatronics are completely different. So let's use a very simple example with Shadow Bonnie and Endoskeleton. Shadow Bonnie needs a flashlight to be shined on them so that they don't completely appear in your office and jump scare you. However, when Endoskeleton pops up, if your flashlight is being used for any reason, they will jump scare you and end your night as well. And this is one of the easier team ups to deal with. However, when there are at least 18 other animatronics on you with a bunch of different factors to worry about, you can see where something as simple as not shining your light for a moment becomes something that ends up ending your run. So the purpose of this practice is very simply to know that I know what to do whenever an animatronic pops up and what to do whenever multiple animatronics pop up. And when I become familiar with how to handle these animatronics by heart, then that is when I can move on to more difficult modes. So you're immediate. Wow, that kind of makes you like a high tier threat. I can never forget about these cupcakes. If they ever show up, I can never forget them. Oh my god, dude. It's nobody yet. It's nobody yet. Just stay calm. Oh my, dude, not now! Oh, this is really bad. This is really bad. 2 a.m. We are looking terrible on power. Oh, the vents! Oh, the vents! Oh, I'm cooked. I'm looking at the cupcake right in front of me, dude. Oh my god, no, man. It's always gonna be Toy Chica. It is always going to be Toy Chica. Oh, leave!
Get out!
Leave immediately!
Fucking hell, man. I'm finished.
It's always... Cupcake. I need like a timer for that. I need a reminder set. Oh, come! Oh my god! Damn, that thing is creepy. No! Oh my god, I'm so close. No, I'm cooked. I prioritized wrong. I didn't even prioritize wrong. I was gonna get the energy first, and I was just too slow. The cupcake. No, I don't see it. That's one. That gave me more trouble than I thought it was going to give me, which is not a good sign. Practicing more for all 20 custom night, I did in fact go through all 5, all 10, and even off screen all 15 difficulty for every animatronic. And it went about as well as you may have guessed. Taking on all these animatronics at various difficulties have taught me a ton of skills that I knew I would need going into all 20 mode. I learned about the value of dead time, just allowing my character to sit and not use up too much energy whenever possible so that my resource management was at peak condition. I learned to trust myself with understanding even the smallest of audio cues, which made certain animatronics not even necessary to find on the cameras. As an example, just the main 4 animatronics completely lose their threat when you rely on audio and knowing where to look inside the office. Not only can you see Bonnie and Chica at the left and right doors respectfully when they appear, but it comes at very reactable times so you can shut the door. There's even a specific audio cue if you pay attention specific to Bonnie and Chica for whenever they are close to the doors and about to jump scare you, that even if you aren't looking at the doors and you're on the cameras, for example, you can use to react and close both doors just to be safe. Foxy has his iconic run sound for whenever he's headed to the office, and it'll only ever show up on the left side, so whenever you hear it, you can just shut the doors and you never have to see how close Foxy is to actually making a run for it. Even Freddy has his iconic laugh that gets louder for every time he gets closer to the office, and even though he can show up on either side of the office, you can still close both doors if you don't know beforehand which side he'll pop up on. And this alone is a fifth of the entire roster that is handled with a minimal amount of energy usage, which comes in super handy in the long run. I learned to become such a Minesweeper pro that I'm pretty sure that I have broken some records for completing Minesweeper this quickly. However, no matter how many times I attempted it, Golden Minesweeper was just not even possible. I attempted this multiple times with no animatronics just to see that I could do it before the end of the night, and I couldn't even get it done by then. So I knew there was no way I was going to be able to take advantage of that with all 20 animatronics on my back, but all I needed to do was be good enough at the original Fred Sweeper to get the coins I needed to take on the night. And because it was mentioned about twice now, just to summarize it, there is an aspect of the night where you can get coins by completing these mini games. For the demo, this includes Fred Sweeper and Golden Fred Sweeper, 2 different versions of Minesweeper at varying difficulties. And then Chica's Feeding Frenzy, which even though it is the easiest mini game with you just having to let Chica eat pizza and not accidentally eat the bombs, it just doesn't give us coins fast enough to be able to efficiently utilize the prizes that we can get by using these coins. These prizes including skipping an hour of the night, completely getting rid of an animatronic for the rest of the night, or adding 10% more power. All of which you can only do a certain amount of times in a single night. And that's another thing I learned, to automatically reset the night whenever I just lost Minesweeper frame 1, because that shit pisses me off. And then of course the most important aspect I have learned to be able to handle these nights is to absolutely despise the out of certain animatronics. Toy Chica, Springtrap, come to the front of the class. Let's go ahead and talk about you really quick. I want to go ahead and teach you today about problem animatronics. Every animatronic, of course, brings a new challenge, but some animatronics bring a constant challenge that you have to always be worried about. And even though there are more than just these two animatronics that have a constant need for attention, these two are easily the worst. Let's start off with a lighter example in the form of Withered Freddy, who will walk in between the left and right doors constantly throughout the night. All you have to do is shut the door that he is coming towards and he won't jump scare you. And even though he has gotten me a good couple of times, I knew what the problem was and I knew how to handle it, and I knew it was completely my fault.
But if you don't stop the animatronics, isn't it always your fault?
Shut up! We've actually already explained Toy Chica before. All she does is summon a cupcake to one of 5 predetermined random locations whenever you drop your monitor. Click that cupcake before she jump scares you and you will be fine. I will take it on the chin and say that I have overlooked this cupcake many times. However, I still stand by the fact that it is so easy to either miss or forget about this cupcake completely. In fact, all the way up to all 15 mode, the cupcake doesn't even utilize all 5 of its predetermined locations. It only utilizes 3. But even then, the cupcake appears about every other monitor drop. It can be covered by other animatronics such as Golden Freddy or Withered Bonnie whenever they show up in your office. It can be left completely in the dark by Shadow Freddy, meaning you have to use your flashlight to find it or at least be familiar with the locations. And in general, it's just something that takes advantage of the chaos of the night way too easily. Even so, I've gotten to the point to be familiar with all 5 locations where the cupcake is. However, that still doesn't stop me from clicking all locations about 3 to 5 times, accidentally missing it, and then losing an entire run because of it. I don't care how fine you are, Toy Chica.
What?
You piss me off.
What is this bitch tripping about?
But even then, nothing is worse than Springtrap. He is another example of a very simple animatronic. Whenever he pops up in the monitors, all you have to do is shine your light on him to push him back. However, he will constantly be trying to make his way to your office, and when he gets to the door, he will not leave. He is just guaranteed death. And you can't leave your left door closed for an entire night. So if you see him right up on the camera with his stank breath, you might as well reset. And again, he is just a prime example of taking advantage of the chaos. He can appear on a screen where Mangle is covering it up. There could be something going on in your office. Even if you are shining your light on him on the monitors, if Endoskeleton pops up in your office, it counts as using your light, which means you get jump scared by Endo. If I were to make a tier list on how problematic all of the animatronics are in order, it would look like this. And even so, I learned to deal with this the best way I possibly could.
Push-ups, sit-ups, and plenty of...
It was after much practice and enough knowledge that I finally felt confident enough to take on all 20 mode.
Sit down, big fella!
It is one thing to know, acknowledge, and say that a challenge is going to be difficult, but actually getting in there and getting slapped in the face with no real results is an entirely different feeling. And I think the biggest thing is just the practice. Gaining the knowledge, the muscle memory, the experience, all to just have it go nowhere. But if this challenge wasn't going to be difficult, then it never would have been a real challenge. And so not only did I keep playing, but I played smart. I looked back at recordings of my other attempts. I implemented new strategies. I observed the problems that I was facing and sought new solutions. And luckily enough, I came up with some answers. To figure out what I was doing wrong, I understood what I was doing correctly first. I already mentioned that I know how to handle the main 4 animatronics with ease, and I know how to get rid of them without using too much energy. But there were still times that I would find myself getting a game over to them, and even though this didn't happen too many times, this is where I found my first issue. Swapping in between overthinking and underthinking. The simplest way to handle any task is split into 2 halves. Half knowing in your head exactly what to do, and half physically being able to actually do it. We've already explained exactly how to handle these 4 animatronics with minimal energy usage, and we have enough time to react to them physically. However, because these animatronics were so easy in my head, I allowed them to slip past way too many times by underthinking about them. And so whenever I would get a game over because of these 4, I would then overthink about them on my later attempts, causing me to use too much energy on them and not give enough attention to more prominent threats. And this is just more of an issue with comfortability. None of these 4 animatronics are problematic enough for me to think that they would ruin my run. So the simple solution for animatronics like this is just to play the game. Get comfortable, stay calm, and understand when to handle the threat. And even though I've played the game enough to understand exactly how all of these animatronics work, I needed to truly understand the ins and outs of all of their cues. The example we'll use here is another group of animatronics that we'll label as the vent animatronics because they all appear in the vents. The only thing you're able to do on the vents tab is put in audio lore in hopes that any of the animatronics get attracted to it and don't make it to your office. However, of the 4 animatronics, these being Balloon Boy, JJ, Toy Bonnie, and Withered Chica, only one of them is really affected by the audio lore. The others are very unlikely to be affected by the audio lore even if it is right next to them. Even so, this isn't too much of an issue because all 4 of these animatronics have the same very loud and obvious audio cue for when they make it to your office from the vents. And luckily, all 4 of these animatronics are handled the same way. All you have to do is put up your mask until they leave and you will be fine. And even though only half of this group is able to jump scare and game over you, it's safe to say that you can reset the night if Balloon Boy or JJ make it past, since they will be disabling your doors or your flashlights. And considering how chaotic the night gets, you're always going to need these tools. But it's by understanding and simplifying these groups of animatronics that I'm able to take this group of 4 separate threats and turn them into one much more manageable problem. So the question then dilutes itself to what is the best way to handle this one problem? And in this case, I know that when I hear the vent sound indicating that one of them has gotten to the office, that I don't need to immediately put on my mask. I have a few seconds of leeway to be able to handle whatever I'm dealing with at the moment and then go to the office and throw up the mask. And then I know that as soon as I hear a honk sound or a laugh, I can then remove my mask immediately and handle a different threat. I also know that by throwing up the mask, I only need to keep it on for about 2 seconds until one of the vent threats leaves. That means that I now understand the valuable information of how long I'll be dealing with one threat until I'm able to go back and handle whatever threat I was currently on. And the rest of the animatronics followed this formula. Although some may be unique and don't have aspects to them that could be grouped up with other animatronics, I still became much better at managing my time and my energy by understanding when an animatronic became a threat, how long I would need to deal with them, and when exactly they would stop being a threat for the time being. As well as becoming better at predicting their patterns, because when I knew how frequently the animatronic would pop up, then I could understand when exactly I would have to get there to handle them, and if I needed to do it sooner, or if I could give it a little bit of leeway. I was getting better. I knew I was getting better. The strategy was to play Fred Sweeper at the beginning of the night immediately and save up my coins to be able to use for energy and for skipping hours of the night so I could get through it quicker. I knew how to handle all of the animatronics. I knew how to properly manage my resources and my time. So why was I still running into problems? Up to this point, the strategy was very simply take advantage of Fred Sweeper, use the coins to get the energy and skip the hours of the night, and just do my best. And so that left me thinking repeatedly that the issue was just me. But I was making a huge mistake in over-blaming my own performance and underestimating the problem animatronics. Or rather, this time we'll say a singular problem animatronic. Springtrap is easily the worst lose condition that I have run into in this entire game. Like I said before, he will show up in the monitors and you have to shine your light on him to push him back. But he will constantly be making his way to your office, and when he gets close enough, he will no longer leave. I know that I said that Toy Chica was my other biggest problem animatronic. However, I understood that every time I put my monitor down, I would just need to do a quick left to right or right to left sweep of the office and click in all of the necessary spots. There's no punishment for spam clicking in your office, so even if the cupcake was covered by an animatronic or if I literally could not see, all I had to do was click enough in all of the proper spots that the cupcake could appear, listen for the audio cue that it was gone, and I would be fine. But Springtrap is the ultimate consequence of chaos. I do not have the time to handle him. The longer that he stays in one position, the more time I need to shine my light on him to make him move back. And Springtrap literally benefits from, and I counted this, half of the entire roster of animatronics as an efficient distraction to keep me away from him. And if you don't believe me, if you think I am exaggerating, let's go through. If any of the vent animatronics make it to the office, I need to put my monitor down to be able to put my mask up and deter them. That's 4. Endoskeleton, who already has a quiet audio cue and you'll hear it too late, will jump scare and game over me if I'm using my flashlight on Springtrap. Mangle can pop up on any of the screens that Springtrap pops up on to cover him up, and it takes no time for Mangle to jump scare you in all 20 mode, especially if you shine your light on them. Marionette doesn't take too much time to deal with, but requires me to click on another monitor to reset him, so that is 7. Shadow Bonnie materializes in the office and needs the flashlight to be shined on them, and admittedly there is a way to shine the flashlight on them while shining it on Springtrap at the same time. But in my experience playing, this mechanic wasn't always consistent, and so it doesn't make it reliable. Withered Foxy can pop up in the office and requires you to shine your flashlight on them for an extended period of time. And then there's Shadow Freddy, which I know some of you who have played this game and understand how it works are going to say that's BS, but I'm still calling it. Shadow Freddy, by turning off all the lights, also makes all of the monitors unable to be seen without shining a flashlight on it. And many times when you're scrolling through the cameras, you're just looking for knowledge checks so you know what's the next threat to prioritize. So yes, that makes it a full 10 animatronics, and if we really don't want to count Shadow Freddy, a full 9 that distract me from Springtrap. And then Springtrap himself is just annoying. Whenever you shine your light on him, it feels like forever to get him to be pushed back. And what is the point in him slowly coming to your office if at a point he just won't go away? Maybe when he gets too close, being able to close the left door and then shining a light on him to deter him further would just be too easy, but it is because he has this strength that it just makes it an automatic reset. If Springtrap was going to be a consistent problem, then we not only had to play Fred Sweeper out of our minds, but we also had to utilize our coins for a death token. You can only use 1 death token per night. It costs 30 coins. You can get rid of one of any animatronic, and even though there are many on this list that I think would be great to not have to deal with, this is the one that we have to use it on. And so tweaking the strategy around, our priority was get a round of Fred Sweeper done as quickly as possible at the beginning of the night, buy the death token, and get rid of Springtrap. Now keep in mind there's still a full night to get through. Even if I was able to do another round of Fred Sweeper, I had to decide if I was going to use the resources to skip another hour of the night or buy more energy. Things that have to be decided in the middle of the run with a split-second decision. One that many times I made the wrong choice for. But with all of the necessary time, experience, knowledge, strategies, and efforts, we went into all 20 custom night with full confidence and no giving up.
Never back down, never what?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up. Holy shit.
That's it. That is it. I probably messed up my green screen so much. That was 20 mode on 5 nights at Frickbear's 3 demo. There's gonna be 20 more when this game eventually comes out. Y'all don't even understand like how long that took me. Like, I know I said I've never done an all 20 mode like on any of the official FNAF games, on any fan FNAF game. Okay, I took a sec to count through all of the recordings, and it was about 6 hours. Not all at once, obviously, like separated throughout a few days, but 6 hours worth of attempts. Y'all already know what to do, bro. The link to the game, to the demo, is going to be in the description below. Download this, play this. If you want to do 2020 mode, that's up to you. But please make sure to support this game. This game is so fun. I love the art style of this game. It is so great. But W gamer moment in the comments if you made it to this part. Like, subscribe, you already know all that good stuff. Hook me up with that, because this was something. And then, of course, above all else, make sure that you have yourself a great day.